Posted by you/bongman31. Mysterious message appears on TV in front of myself and best friend, long. So it was 2008 or 2009, I can't remember exactly. It was around the time that the USA was phasing out antenna TVs and there was that huge push to get the digital converter boxes. I'm sure lots of you remember this. So like many people, my family only had cable in the living room. All our other TVs, including the one in my bedroom, needed the converter boxes. The converter boxes finally come and I am tasked with hooking them up in my room, my parents' room and my sister's room. I get them all hooked up and all is well the first day. The next day I noticed that periodically my TV would get a large black box that would appear perfectly centered in my TV and would take up about 60 to 70% of the screen, and all anyone could see was the outer border. This would happen multiple times daily and only ever to my TV with my converter box. My parents didn't want to go through the hassle of replacing it, so I just had to deal with it. Fine. Months go by and my best friend would come over and hang out all the time. We would play games and watch TV daily. So he has also seen the strange box that appeared in my TV multiple times daily. Now the news is on and I remember it was some interview with Reverend Al Sharpton. I don't recall exactly what it was about, but my friend and I both disagreed and were just acting obnoxiously and talking general shit about Al Sharpton and whatever he was harping on about. It is immediately after that the black box takes over the screen, except this time in white letters and all caps inside that box reads "Shut Up." With at least 8 S, we are both stunned and just immediately stare in silence at the screen. It wasn't subtitles, it wasn't closed captioning, it wasn't a hallucination. Someone somehow inserted those letters on my screen at the exact moment on purpose. Who it was or what the purpose is I have never known, and it's drove me crazy thinking about it all these years. The message stayed on the screen for at least 2 full minutes and then just disappeared. This was the catalyst for both of us to start our journey through all things strange/conspiracy, and I've never read of anything similar happening to anyone else. We tore apart the converter box later that night looking for any kind of transmitter device or microphone, but couldn't find anything of the sort. Of course we had no experience with those things and were teenagers, so entirely possible something was there that we just missed. I put the box back together and plugged it back in. Just waiting and hoping another message would appear or something would come from it, but it never did. Neither of us have ever forgotten about it though, and we both wish we could know how it happens and why. Posted by you/fancy, Pickle 37. We witnessed a car accident that never happened. TLDR, my friend and I witnessed a car accident, but no record exists of it ever happening. TW, accident, DEET. Last year, my friend and I were heading home from a camping and riding trip. We had another 4 hours to go on the highway when it started pouring rain. Visibility got bad, water started pooling up on the sides of the road, and most drivers slowed to a crawl and turned their flashers on. This white car came flying up past us, just being a real jerk. I'll spare the details. But the white car ended up hydroplaning, flipping, and causing an absolutely horrific accident with multiple vehicles and a motorcycle involved. I keep a ton of medical supplies in my horse trailer, so we pulled over to offer help, but thankfully paramedics arrived within minutes. We were instructed to get somewhere safe and call into the local station with our witness statement. We wanted to make sure no innocent drivers were blamed when it was the white car at fault. I took note of the mile marker and time, and we made our way off the highway to a restaurant to calm down and make the call. This is where it gets weird. The lady on the phone at the police station was very kind, but also very confused. When I told her we wanted to give a witness statement regarding the accident at mile marker 123, she asked when this happened. Today, roughly 20 minutes ago. Ma'am, I'm very happy to say we haven't had any traffic accidents in this county today. What? I confirmed we had called the correct department and described exactly where the accident happened. She placed me on a brief hold to check with dispatch and came back to say, ma'am, I don't know what to tell you. You've called the right county. The restaurant you're at is 5 minutes from the station. We haven't had any highway accidents today. My friend and I start searching local traffic sites. We pull up maps that show accidents and road closures. We check the website. We check local social media pages. We called the state police. Nothing. There was no accident. I can confirm with my own eyes that there was at least one fatality. The road should have been closed for a while and cleanup would have taken hours. We thought about getting back on the highway in the direction we came from to see for ourselves, but neither of us were really in a mental state to do that, so we didn't. Now I kinda wish we would have, because I feel crazy. We called back a day later, then a week later. We called the local fire and rescue department that responded to the scene, which they apparently never responded to. It's been a year now and it still bothers me. My friend and I talk about it all the time, and I'm so thankful she was there with me, or I would think I've just lost it. We were both sober, We were awake, and we saw something that absolutely traumatized us, except it never happened. I just like to hope the Matrix glitched in a good way to spare those innocent drivers that day. Posted by you/Sima. He touched my skin through a non-existent hole in my shirt. This happened in February 2022. I was on a first date with someone I met online. It was my first time meeting someone in person through online dating, so I went to the mall earlier in the day of my date to look for a new top to wear with some jeans. I found a cream-colored fitted turtleneck, made of 96% cotton and 4% elastane. I wore it with high-waisted fitted jeans, but when I would sit the turtleneck rode up about 1 inch up my back and I did not feel comfortable exposing skin since it was cold out on a first date. So I wore a black bodysuit underneath which was securely tucked in and added another layer under the turtleneck. We had finished dinner, neither of us drank alcohol, and decided to stop at a cafe that was open late night. We were chatting for a bit and getting a little flirty. I was sitting to his left. He asked if he could put his arm around me and I said yes. He put his left arm around my back slightly under my left armpit. His hand rested on my left side area under my left boob. He applied a slight pressure with his fingers and I felt the distinct and jarring sensation of cold fingers directly on my skin. I immediately questioned if there was a hole in my shirt in my head. How could that happen? I had just bought that shirt 4 hours ago, $50 in good quality, and was wearing a full body suit beneath it. A millisecond after I had this thought, he abruptly retreated his hand and asked if I had a hole in my shirt because he definitely felt my skin. I said no. And told him I had questioned the same thing as well as I felt his cold fingers against my skin. We inspected the shirt and found nothing. He asked if maybe he lifted the shirt and I said no, I would have felt that, plus I had a bodysuit on underneath. When I got home I removed the turtleneck and bodysuit and found 0 holes in the fabric. I probably would have chalked it up to something in my head if he hadn't experienced the same sensation as well. Posted by you/ability. Individual 840. Possible timeline jump? Okay. I've been reading this subreddit for years and for some reason it just occurred to me that a glitch totally happened to me when I was around 18 years old and totally freaked me out at the time. I'm 23 now. I had been hanging out at my friend's house and left to go home pretty late at night, like 12 a.m. to 1 a.m.-ish. I lived in a smallish suburb at the time, so at this time of night there was really nobody out driving. I got to the main road right outside my actual neighborhood and was a few turns away from the street I needed to turn on. I had lived there for years at this point, so I was very familiar with this road and everything around. Next thing I knew, a huge deer jumped out from what seemed like nowhere. Went from nothing at all in the road to the deer pretty much being right in front of my car. I remember thinking holy shit, there's nothing I can do, I'm about to crash. I also remember thinking that the deer was almost literally running into my car, not trying to run across the road but right into me. Then I just remember this scream that came from the depths of my being that I imagine only comes out of you when you know you're about to die or be seriously hurt. I went to slam the brakes, but like I said, the deer was already at my car and braced myself, and then all of a sudden the deer was just not there. I looked in all directions and there was no deer anywhere. I was driving in a 4-lane road and there were only buildings and parking lots on the other side of the road, so I would have definitely seen the deer if it somehow managed to jump out of the way. I couldn't understand what just happened and why I couldn't see the deer anywhere, and I was actually thinking, is the deer stuck under my car or on top of it? Doesn't make sense, I know, but I just couldn't process there being no deer. I picked up my phone and called my friend Alex, whose house I was just at, freaking out, telling him the story as I was pulling into my driveway and telling him I was scared to get out of the car because I was still half afraid that the deer or part of the deer was on my car, but when I finally got out my car was totally fine and no sign of any accident was there. I didn't know a lot about timeline jumps and glitches back then, but now I feel like maybe that's exactly what happened. Posted by you/snail207. Almost collided with a semi-trailer. Magically shifted 1 lane to the right at the last second. This was a few years ago. My father, his partner, my brothers and I were heading back from a wedding celebration. Before entering the car I called shotgun. My dad tried to convince me to let his partner sit in the front, but I was stubborn. She fell asleep in the back of the car and off we went. It was pitch black and we were driving down a narrow highway road which had 1 lane for each direction. For some reason my dad must have thought it was a 2-lane one-directional road and was driving around 90 km/h on the left lane. Suddenly I noticed massive headlights that were growing larger only a few foot in front of us and shouted, "Dad, Dad, Dad." We were inches away from colliding with a semi-trailer. Suddenly my dad pulls the steering wheel to the right. I'm fully braced, ready for the car to flip/hit the side rail. But as impossible as it sounds, we just shifted instantly 1 lane to the right in the smoothest way possible. It was impossibly perfect for the speed we were going and the type of car we were in. We felt the blast of air of the semi pass us at the same time. Never managed to explain what happened there. Anyone have a similar experience? Posted by u/lupin_bun. My colleague who wasn't there called my name. This happened a couple of years ago now. I used to work with a guy, who I'll call Will, and we got along really well. We worked on a deli counter in a supermarket together. We were both fans of the comedy show Blackadder and he loved Stephen Fry's character Melchett, so, just for fun, we used to call each other's names using our best Melchett impressions. Sadly, he left to go to university. About 2 weeks after he'd left, I was out on the front counter, cleaning out the hot food unit, and I heard his voice call my name from just a few feet away. Melchett voice and all. I looked up, surprised that he was there because, at that point, he was supposed to be in France. I was all ready to say something along the lines of, "Oh. Hi, Will. I didn't realize you were still here. I thought you'd left already." But he was nowhere around. His voice had been too close for him to just vanish in the half a second it took me to lift my head, and I'd been so sure it was him. But, I figured it must have been someone else with a very similar sounding voice, calling to someone with the same name as me. Pretty slim chance but not impossible. Still weird. I carried on my cleaning and then went into the kitchen out back to wash up utensils. After a few minutes, my other colleague poked his head round the door and was looking at me funny. He said, "Hey, you do know Will left, right?" I said yeah and asked why. I thought maybe he heard his voice too? But he said, "So how come you were just calling for him?" I said I hadn't, but he insisted I had, and he'd heard my voice call Will's name 2 or 3 times and it was definitely coming from the kitchen. He didn't seem to be trying to mess with me, and, even if he was, I hadn't told him about hearing Will's voice call my name just a half hour earlier. Posted by u/it's Lady, JD. Ricardo. Weirdest thing happened to me and my husband today. I was on my way to a friend's house and driving on the highway like one normally does. This black SUV was in front of me for about half of the 45-minute trip, and I saw that this individual had 3 separate name decals on their window. One was Stephanie, I don't recall the one at the top, as I was trying to drive in very backed up traffic, and then the name on the driver's side of the back window was Ricardo. I made a joke about Ricky Ricardo and went on with my drive. At some point this SUV got ahead of me by a few cars, as what happens when driving, and I remember distinctly that at some point I ended up passing them after one of the exit ramps to a different highway, because they were driving with their hazards on and very slow in the right lane. Mechanical issues, I assumed. Here's where it gets weird. About 2 to 3 minutes goes by, traffic cleared up back at the highway merge where I passed Ricardo, and we were cruising. All of a sudden I see a black SUV pulled over on the side of the highway at an exit in the emergency lane. It was frickin' Ricardo. Same decals. Same SUV. It was clear their car had died on the road, given they had their hazards on when I passed them. I have very little explanation for this, as there had been no exit between merging onto the new highway and where they were pulled over. They were sitting at the first exit off. They never passed me. My husband was as confused as I was, as he always watches the road when he's in the passenger seat, and he also had watched us pass Ricardo with their flashers on. Then, we passed them again. Posted by u/music. Our glasses glitch or reality shift? I posted this on my Facebook semi-joking earlier, but I do believe in stuff like this, so considered it a real possibility. I thought maybe it belonged here. Also, now I'm beginning to freak a little because now there's a commercial that I was looking for, a controversial one, so I don't really want to disclose it and cause off-topic drama, and I found it exists, kind of, but it's completely different and was released about 11 years before it was released where I'm from. Or where I was, I don't even know that I was from there honestly. Anyway. So I'm pretty sure I shifted realities or something, because this morning I went to put on my glasses and I have 2 pairs and just wear whichever one I grab, and this morning it was my blue frames I don't like as much because they're not as comfy. Feeling too lazy to go search for my comfy glasses, I shrugged and went on to finish getting ready for work. Fast forward to work and I was in the bathroom and suddenly got double vision out of nowhere, but after a second it got normal. I checked my glasses lenses, thinking maybe something was on them, and nothing that would cause that was there. Then I went back to my desk and realized I saw green frames around my eyes and not my blue ones, and that's just been on my mind all day. I also have to add, when I got home my blue glasses were still on my bedside table but in a different location. I am positive I didn't change glasses before leaving my home. Posted by u/deep_mission_4998. Deceased grandmother's shirt. My maternal grandmother passed away in January. My mom was very close to her. I wasn't. She lived far away and I hadn't seen her since I was 13. When my mom went to gather some of her possessions, she brought me a shirt. A very distinct shirt. A small petite size blouse, white with blue stripes and blue floral patterns. Croft & Barrow brand. I've had it in my possession for months. I was at my mom's house doing laundry yesterday. I have 2 laundry baskets, a wicker small basket, and a large white hamper. I laundered the clothes in the white hamper first. When I was folding the first load of clothes, the first shirt I took from the dryer was my grandma's shirt. I folded it and put it at the bottom of the white hamper and moved on. I did 2 more loads of laundry that day. The next load of clothes, I was checking them to see if they were dry. And I saw my grandma's shirt in there. It's a very distinct shirt compared to the rest of my clothes. I don't do a lot of stripes and I don't own another blouse. I was confused cause I thought I had just folded it but figured I was being forgetful. But the tag looked different, the brand said something different. But I figured maybe I was misremembering the brand. I was then asking myself, did my mom put this shirt in here? Did she give me 2 similar shirts? So I restart the dryer and let them go longer. Then when it stops I fold it and I end up coming across my grandma's shirt with a weird feeling. I folded it and put it in the wicker basket. Today I'm putting away all my laundry. I emptied the white hamper first. And at the bottom, is my grandma's shirt. Croft & Barrow. SP size. At this point I'm really confused. I move on to the wicker basket. No similar shirt in there whatsoever. And I just feel so weird and confused about it. WTF happened? The day after she passed, I was very upset. I wanted to be alone so I went to a creek. And I ended up finding 10 heart-shaped rocks in one spot. But yeah, that's my story. Not super dramatic, but what do y'all think? Posted by you/Sima. He touched my skin through a non-existent hole in my shirt. This happened in February 2022. I was on a first date with someone I met online. It was my first time meeting someone in person through online dating, so I went to the mall earlier in the day of my date to look for a new top to wear with some jeans. I found a cream-colored fitted turtleneck, made of 96% cotton and 4% elastane. I wore it with high-waisted fitted jeans, but when I would sit the turtleneck rode up about 1 inch up my back and I did not feel comfortable exposing skin since it was cold out on a first date. So I wore a black bodysuit underneath which was securely tucked in and added another layer under the turtleneck. We had finished dinner, neither of us drank alcohol, and decided to stop at a cafe that was open late night. We were chatting for a bit and getting a little flirty. I was sitting to his left. He asked if he could put his arm around me and I said yes. He put his left arm around my back slightly under my left armpit. His hand rested on my left side area under my left boob. He applied a slight pressure with his fingers and I felt the distinct and jarring sensation of cold fingers directly on my skin. I immediately questioned if there was a hole in my shirt in my head. How could that happen? I had just bought that shirt 4 hours ago, $50 in good quality, and was wearing a full body suit beneath it. A millisecond after I had this thought, he abruptly retreated his hand and asked if I had a hole in my shirt because he definitely felt my skin. I said no. And told him I had questioned the same thing as well as I felt his cold fingers against my skin. We inspected the shirt and found nothing. He asked if maybe he lifted the shirt and I said no, I would have felt that, plus I had a bodysuit on underneath. When I got home I removed the turtleneck and bodysuit and found 0 holes in the fabric. I probably would have chalked it up to something in my head if he hadn't experienced the same sensation as well.